Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 700 Club. I'm Andrew Knox in for Gordon today. The House of Representatives is shut down in a historic move. 8 Republicans joined all the Democrats to remove Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
A growing rift in the Republican conference led to the dramatic vote. Capitol Hill correspondent Matt Galka explains how it all went down and what comes next.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
By a vote of 216 to 210, the House removed Republican Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. Led by Florida Representative Matt Gaetz, 8 Republicans joined every Democrat to vote McCarthy out. The former Speaker's allies showing obvious frustration.
The chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Gaetz was the one to bring the motion to the floor.
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy couldn't keep his word.
For me, it's not ideological. It's about having a leader in our nation who will tell the truth, who you can trust. And that's what the American people deserve.
You know, if you have to lose for something, I will always lose for the country.
McCarthy said he would not try for the Speaker's gavel again while bashing the hard-right members of his party who orchestrated his exit.
You all know Matt Gaetz. You know it was personal. It had nothing to do about spending. They are not conservatives.
Some of the Republicans who voted against McCarthy said he was untrustworthy, and they didn't like his bipartisan deal to avoid a government shutdown. McCarthy supporters say their actions splintered the conference and gave Democrats the upper hand.
When you have a narrow majority, unity is our ally. Disunity is the enemy of the conservative cause.
Tennessee Republican Tim Burchett told CBN McCarthy sealed his removal vote when he felt McCarthy slighted him for praying about the situation.
I just felt like it was a condescending thing that he said to me. And then, I said, and the conversation kind of got heated. And then, I just tried to hung up. I said, well, Lord, I guess you gave me my answer.
You said you're going to pray about it. I wanted to talk to you about it. And somehow he construes that I'm a Christian. I'm not going to offend somebody. I simply read his quote back. I thought there was still an opening, and I wanted to talk to him about it. He never mentioned anything when we were communicating like that.
All House business is effectively shut down until a new Speaker is elected.
Yay.
Some names are already being discussed, including House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Republicans hope to have a nominee next week. Matt Galka, CBN News.
CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody joins us now. David, McCarthy and his supporters claim that those who voted against him aren't motivated by principle. This is personal. What do you think? Why'd they take this action?
Well, I don't know about that at all. I mean, that's the whole point here, that it was on principle and that these 8 Republicans said no more, no mas, no more continuing resolutions, no more omnibus bills. No, McCarthy promised, let's remember, Andrew, McCarthy promised these Republicans when he became Speaker, that was that whole 15-vote ordeal, he promised them that there would not be any more continuing resolutions. They would vote on appropriation bills up and down. That never happened. That's a broken promise. Here's the other problem here. The motion to vacate. McCarthy made his deal with the devil, if you will. What he did was he said, I'll give one person the ability to bring a motion to vacate. Well, that's exactly what happened. That was a problem in and of itself, to give one congressman that much power to bring something like that to the floor. So, look, he made a deal. He went back on the deal, and this is the end result.
That's interesting. You don't think this was personal at all. I mean, McCarthy had a tough time even becoming Speaker. Well, you think they really gave him a chance to succeed?
Well, let's be clear. To a degree, everything is personal. I mean, Gaetz has got grievances. McCarthy's got, they all have grievances up here on Capitol Hill. But look, ultimately, this was about substance. Yeah, let's go back and just go through a historical timeline, and I'll be very brief on this. I mean, John Boehner, the former Speaker of the House, had to resign over, in essence, the budget and deficit and all of that, because the House Freedom Caucus at the time, a couple decades ago, were not happy with him. Then you had Paul Ryan, who had problems as well on the budget and deficit with the House Freedom Caucus. And here we are with Kevin McCarthy. This has been a problem for a very long time. And the real question here is not, it's a substance issue, but there's an optics issue here, too. It does not look good for Republicans. And I think that's what many Republicans are not happy about specifically.
Well, the optics are terrible. Can the party even come together under a new speaker?
Well, it'll be tough. Look, there's a lot of different names that are out there right now. First of all, you got to get 218 votes. I mean, if McCarthy couldn't get it, who's it going to be? And Gates and others really haven't come up with any solid names. Steve Scalise has been talked about. Of course, he's the #2 in charge. He's more to the right of Kevin McCarthy. He's more conservative. That's good. Of course, he has health issues, which could be an issue. So I would think he's the leading candidate right now. There's Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Committee chairman. Conservatives love him, but the question is, can he get some moderates to get him over that 218 hump? And there's Elise Stefanik as well, who's in Republican leadership. She's in the mix. So all different scenarios here. And the truth of the matter is no one quite knows how this is going to play out, Andrew.
So the American people have a House that's shut down for a week. The GOP's in disarray. What's the overall political fallout, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, the immediate fallout is that in November, remember, this is a 45-day continuing resolution to keep the government open. So the government could indeed shut down in November unless something can be passed between the Senate, the House, and the White House. The problem is, who's leading the House? They don't have an answer for that. And this could go on for a very long time. So the political ramifications for the GOP are problematic. On that front alone, that could cause a government shutdown. But beyond all of that, remember, they had the House impeachment inquiry regarding Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. They have the border issues that they've been trying to talk about. All of that's getting drowned out politically because of this.
Is Democratic leadership is this just great news for them, all this disarray? Does this help them at all in the upcoming election, or it won't matter?
Well, right now, they're the Cheshire Cat of Washington, D.C. They're just sitting around going, look at this dysfunction. Isn't this fun? And you know what? Not to bring up Donald Trump, but why not? Trump was right. You know what Trump always used to say, as he still says it? He says, Democrats always stick together. Well, you know what? They did, and it cost McCarthy his job.
All right, David, thanks for joining us. Always appreciate it.
You bet.
In other news, Mexico's president says 10,000 migrants a day are headed for the U.S. southern border. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John.
Thanks, Andrew. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and Attorney General Merrick Garland head to Mexico this week. They'll meet with their Mexican counterparts to discuss security and public health issues related to the migrant crisis. Their meeting comes as the surge in migrant crossings at the southern border continues. The mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, declaring an emergency as some 9,000 asylum seekers crossed recently from Mexico. The White House is working to speed up the application process for those who meet the requirements while discouraging illegal crossings.
We've made clear that attempting to cross the border unlawfully will result in prompt removal, a 5-year ban on reentry, and potential criminal prosecution.
Republican leaders targeted the border crisis in a budget proposal prior to the continuing resolution that sparked Kevin McCarthy's removal as Speaker. Objections from Republican holdouts forced them to drop the stronger security provisions. Well, God is doing something unusual. That's how people in the small town of Slaughters, Kentucky, population 186, describe recent events among young people. In response to several fights at a local high school, a church began praying for a breakthrough at an upcoming youth discipleship event. Tyler Feller of Mount Gilead Baptist Church told CBN News since September 15th, that event has morphed into what's being called the Unashamed Kentucky Youth Revival. 250 to 300 people have attended the services, and at least 87 have made commitments to Christ. There are also reports of students worshiping together before school and writing Bible verses on Post-it notes, leaving them to encourage other fellow students. Andrew, God on the move.
Thank you, John. And to think it started because of these fights at a local high school. There is revival. Wow. Young people in this country are coming together. In fact, Ashley just returned from a great trip from the West Coast, right? Where you saw revival in action.
I really did. We were able to go to a prayer and worship event called Gen Z for Jesus, where their goal is to really just gather the younger generations and have them encounter the presence of God. I had the privilege of talking to young people, you know, as young as like 14 all the way up to 21, a part of the Gen Z generation. I'm telling you, like, it stirred my faith. These young people love the Lord and have such a heart for their own generation, to see God, to be healed, to be set free. Because let's be honest, there is a lot of negativity surrounding the younger generation. I think the older generations can be very cynical sometimes, but I'm here to tell you there is hope and revival is coming through the younger
We're going to see
generation.
the story next week, I believe.
Next Wednesday, that's right.
Very exciting.
Yeah, me too.